Most people think that self-respect means standing up to toxic people, confronting their energy, proving that you can't be disrespected, or returning fire with fire. So they yell when they yell, manipulate when they're manipulated, and demean themselves to win. Sometimes they do win, but they lose something bigger in the process. They themselves, Stoics, understand something that many people overlook. The moment you let toxic people dictate your behavior, you lose self-respect. Because self-respect isn't about proving your worth to those who can't see it. It's about holding on to your dignity when others have abandoned theirs. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like them, not to be louder, not to be crueler, not to respond to their toxicity to prove a point, but simply to refuse to be the very thing you are fighting against." Today, I will guide you through 6 hard principles to maintain self-respect in the face of toxic people. Not by defeating them, but by mastering yourself. The third principle is the hardest. It requires you to do the opposite of every instinct you have when attacked, but it is the most powerful way to protect your dignity. By the end of this article, you will know how to stay on top of yourself and not be shaken, even when surrounded by people who want to destroy you. If you are tired of toxic people stealing your peace, if you want to regain your self-respect, start by 1. Separate their behavior from your values. When a toxic person attacks you, criticizes, insults, belittles, the first instinct yours is to take it personally, wonder if they are right, and try to defend yourself against their comments. But you need to understand this. Toxic behavior reveals the character of the attacker, not your values. Their cruelty comes from their own wounds, not from your shortcomings. When you start trying to defend your values to someone whose opinions are warped by their wounds, you give them power they don't deserve. I saw this happen between 2 employees at a company I consulted for. Both worked under a toxic manager. Their critic was relentless, always finding fault with everything, making everyone feel inferior no matter how good they were. The first employee, Lynn, took every criticism to heart. She worked late, trying to prove him wrong, obsessively redoing projects, anxiously asking if her work was up to par. As a result, she lost sleep, lost confidence, and began to believe that I really am not good enough. The second employee, Fong, took a different approach. After the harsh criticism, he paused to evaluate if there was anything useful in it, kept what was valuable, and ignored the rest. When I asked Fong how he managed to not let those words affect him, he said, "He criticized people. It was not because of my work. It was because of what was hurt inside him that made him need to put others down to feel stronger. I don't let his hurt define my worth." Fong understood what Lin didn't. When someone is constantly toxic, always critical, always negative, constantly cruel, it's not about you, it's about them. Hurt people hurt others. Insecure people put others down to feel superior. Unhappy people spread their misery because having someone else suffer makes them feel less alone. When you truly understand that their behavior is a manifestation of their inner state, not a judgment on your worth, you stop taking it personally. Not because you're indifferent, but because you see the truth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When someone hurts you, ask yourself what good or bad they think will come from that action. If you understand this, you will feel compassion instead of resentment or anger." This doesn't mean accepting abuse. It means understanding that toxic people attack from their own pain. This understanding protects you from absorbing their poison. How to practice. The next time a toxic person criticizes you, pause before reacting. Ask yourself, is this about me or about them? Look at their behavior patterns. Do they criticize everyone else? Is their negativity constant? Are they projecting their failures onto you? Often the answer is yes. Their attack is their pain trying to be extracted, and you just happen to be nearby. Take what is useful from their words. If there is any legitimate feedback hidden in the cruelty, hold it. But the toxic part, the personal attacks, the character attacks, is about them, not you. Don't take things that aren't yours. Self-respect means knowing your worth apart from the opinions of those who hurt you. It means being able to hear criticism without letting it get to you. Into your identity, because you understand that the way someone treats you says everything about them and nothing about your worth. When they truly believe that, they lose the power to hurt you. But understanding that they are projecting is not enough. The second principle is about where you really put your energy when you can't control their behavior. 2. Only control what you can control. When you have a toxic person in your life, your natural instinct is to try to change them, to make them see reason, to explain things better so they finally understand. You try to prove yourself right so they stop. You spend hours coming up with the perfect answer, rehearsing conversations, strategizing how to get them to behave differently. But all that effort, all that mental and emotional energy produces nothing.
Because the truth is, you can't control them. You can only control yourself, and every minute you try to change what can't be changed is a minute you let them control you. Epictetus writes, "Some things are within our control and others are not. Within our control are our opinions, our motivations, our desires, our dislikes. In other words, anything that is within our control. Not within our control are our bodies, our possessions, our reputations, our positions. In other words, anything that is not within our control. Their actions are not within your control. Their words, their judgments, their toxicity are not things you can control. But how you respond to all of that is completely in your hands." How to practice. When a toxic person provokes you, stop and ask yourself, what is truly within my control right now? The answer is never their actions. It is always your response. It's not whether they apologize, change, or understand your perspective. It's just how you choose to react, the boundaries you set, and the amount of energy you put into this interaction. When you shift your focus from changing them to mastering yourself, something magical happens. You take back control. They may still be toxic, but they can no longer control your peace because you've stopped trying to control what isn't yours. Self-respect is self-management. When you try to control toxic people, they control you through your frustration, anxiety, and endless mental loops trying to understand them. But when you only manage yourself, you're free. Not because they change, but because you change. If you have spent years trying to change a toxic person and are now ready to focus on what you can control, your own reactions, comment, "I choose myself." Below, that is the hardest step to change, but also the one that gives you power. Understanding what you control is essential. But the third, the hardest one, is about what you do when they attack, and every instinct in your body urges you to fight back, to take them down. 3. Don't mirror their toxicity. When someone attacks you with cruelty, every instinct in your body screams to hit back harder.
They insult you, insult back harder. They manipulate, manipulate better. They spin lies, destroy their reputation. But here's the catch. You can win. You can hurt them, make them regret ever touching you. But when you fight toxicity with toxicity, you become what you were fighting. And the moment that's the price of imitating toxicity. You may beat them, but you sacrifice your integrity. And that integrity is the only thing that truly belongs to you. Their behavior is temporary, but your integrity is permanent. When you give it up to beat them at their own game, you hand them the real victory. They make you like them. The best revenge, Marcus Aurelius wrote, is not to be like them, not to be louder, not to be crueler, not to be cleverer at their game, simply to refuse to be the thing you're up against. Because the measure of your self-worth isn't whether you can overcome the toxicity of a toxic person, it's whether you can hold your own when everything in you wants to back down. Why is this principle the hardest? Because it feels like losing. When they go low and you hold yourself high, it looks like you're weak, like you're letting them get away with it, like you're too scared to fight. But others understand something most people never learn. Slumping to their level is not strength, it is surrender. Real strength is remaining kind when cruelty is easier, staying honest when lying is more profitable, staying true to yourself when becoming like them will help you win. How to practice. The next time a toxic person attacks, notice the urge to strike back. Feel it, acknowledge it. Then ask yourself, if I do this, will I be proud of myself tomorrow? Not whether I won or whether they learn the lesson is up to you, but whether I am still the person I respect. If the answer is no, if your response requires you to give up your values, then the price is too high. You don't defeat toxic people by becoming them. You defeat them by refusing to let them change who you are. Self-respect means becoming the person you respect. And if you have to be cruel, manipulative, or toxic to win, you have won nothing. You have only proven that they have the power to make you give up who you are. Don't give them that. The first 3 principles are about inner work: mindset, control, character. The next 3 principles are about action, what you actually do when you can't avoid toxic people and need to practically protect your peace. 4. Respond, don't react. There is a difference between reacting and responding that many people don't realize. Reacting is inevitable, emotional, automatic.
Someone provokes you and the words come out of your mouth first when you have time to think. Response is intentional, conscious choice. You feel the provocation, stop, and then decide what to do with it. Toxic people want your reaction. They want to know they've got you, that they can control your emotional state with their words. But when you respond, calmly, deliberately, you take back control, not of them, but of you. I saw the power of this difference at a family gathering once. We made a comment that was meant to embarrass my brother in front of everyone. A job about his career, his choices, wrapped in a caring tone, but actually disguised cruelty. My brother would have exploded from a loud defense, turned the whole thing into a drama. But this time he stopped, stood there for 3 seconds, took a breath, then he said quietly and calmly, "I'm proud of my choice. I hope you respect that," and continued without defense, without explanation, without explosion. My uncle tried to push further, but my brother just smiled and changed the subject. Then my brother told me, "I felt angry. It was there, but I realized if I exploded, I was just giving him what I wanted. Proof that he had control over me. So I chose a different response. And that choice made me feel more powerful than any argument." The practice. You cannot stop emotions from coming up. Anger, hurt, defensiveness are natural. But how you handle that emotion is where your power lies. Between the provocation and your words, there is a gap of about 3 seconds. In that gap, you have the power to choose whether to respond from your emotions or respond from your values. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not external events. Understand this, you will find power." The words of toxic people are external events you have no control over. But the gap between their words and your response is your mind, your domain, your place. The only power that really matters is the power of self-mastery. The next time a toxic person provokes you, do what my brother did. Stop for at least 3 seconds, breathe, feel the reaction forming, acknowledge it without acting on it, then ask yourself, what response represents the real me? Not the person they're trying to turn you into, not the angry, defensive version they summon, but the person you are at your best. Then speak from there, or say nothing at all. Both are responses, not reactions. The difference is simple but profound. Reacting gives toxic people proof that they have power over you. Responding proves to yourself that you have power over yourself. Self-esteem is not built by winning arguments with toxic people. It is built by choosing your behavior, even when everything in you wants to be controlled by their emotions. You have learned not to mimic their toxicity, not to react to their provocations. Principle 5 is about drawing a boundary that they cannot cross and holding it without apology. 5. Set boundaries without explanation or apology. Boundaries are not a negotiation, they are a statement. But many people treat boundaries as a request that needs permission to be made. Example, they explain too much. "I can't do that because I'm so busy. I have other things going on." And they apologize. "I'm sorry, but I don't think I can." Every explanation, every apology, every reason becomes ammunition for the toxic person to argue, pressure, or manipulate your boundary. When you explain why your boundary exists, you invite them to debate whether your reason is good enough. And with a toxic person, your reason will never be good enough. I've seen my sister struggle with this for years. Her mother-in-law calls at all hours, demands visits on holidays, pressures her about every choice she makes. My sister explains endlessly. "We're tired this week, we have plans, the kids need a steady schedule." Every reason becomes a problem her mother-in-law can solve. "Tired, I will stay short. Have plans to cancel. Family comes first, children need stability. Meeting her is stability." Boundaries are never kept because my sister always treats it as a discussion instead of a decision. Then one thing changed. After being pressured cruelly, my sister said 5 words. "That does not suit us." Her mother-in-law Asked why, my sister repeated, "It does not suit us." Pressed to explain, my sister calmly said, "I have made our decision clear. This topic ended." Her mother-in-law was angry at first, but the boundary was kept because there was nothing left to argue. My sister learned what others know. A boundary without a reason is a wall. A boundary with a reason is a door they will try to open. Seneca writes, "We often suffer more in our imagination than in reality." Most people fear that setting hard boundaries will destroy a relationship. But what really destroys a relationship is the resentment that builds up when you fail to protect yourself because you are too afraid to set boundaries without apologizing.
The next time you need to set boundaries with a toxic person, say it clearly and simply. I don't have time for that. I don't discuss this topic. I won't engage when they ask why. Don't justify it by saying it was my decision or that it was right for me, or say nothing at all. When they push, they will push. Don't defend, don't explain, don't apologize. Just reiterate the boundary or end the conversation. Boundaries are not the beginning of a discussion. They are the end of a discussion. Your boundaries don't need to be understood or approved. They just need to be clear and enforced. Self-respect means valuing your peace enough to protect it, even if it makes others uncomfortable, especially if it makes toxic people uncomfortable. Because if you need their permission to have boundaries, it's not a boundary. It's just a suggestion they'll ignore as soon as it's inconvenient for them. You've learned to respond instead of react, to set boundaries without justifying. The last principle is about the power of silence when they try to drag you into unnecessary battles. 6. Use silence as a shield. Not every insult needs a response. Not every provocation is worth your energy. Not every toxic comment needs to be addressed, corrected, or acknowledged. Many people think silence means agreement, weakness, or letting the other person win. But silence isn't surrender, it's rejection. It's the most powerful way to convey a simple message. You're not worth my while. When you respond to every sarcasm, every snide comment, every attack, in small ways, you give toxic people exactly what they want, proof that they can control your attention and emotional state. But when you let it pass in silence, you refuse to play their game. And a game without an opponent dies quickly. Silence does something that counteraction cannot. It conveys that the person is not important enough for you to participate in. Every time you respond, whether to defend yourself or correct a lie, you confirm that their words matter to you, that they have the power to drag you into their chaos. But when you remain silent, you say something far more cruel than any retort. I have no need to defend myself against you. You are not worthy of my attention. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You always have the choice of not having an opinion, never needing to provoke or trouble your soul about things you cannot control. Their provocation is what you cannot control. Your response or lack thereof is what you can. And choosing silence is not passive. It is an active refusal to let them decide how you spend your energy, how you practice. The next time a toxic person engages you, insults, is sarcastic, downright provocative, stop and ask yourself, is this really worth me talking to? Not whether I can win this argument or should I let them go, but just, is this worth my energy? 90% of the time, the answer is no. Let it die in silence. Don't defend yourself, don't engage, don't give them the satisfaction of having reached you. Just let it fall silent and die. Your silence is not consent. It is a refusal to play their game. Self-respect means knowing which battles are worth fighting and which are just noise designed to drain you. Toxic people live by reacting. Deny that and you take away their only weapon, not by winning the argument, but by refusing to show up in the fight. These 6 principles are not about defeating toxic people. They're about standing up for yourself when everything around you is designed to make you into someone else. That is how you gain self-respect, not by proving anything to them, but by defending who you are no matter what they do, separating their behavior from your values, their cruelty. Reveal they are not you. Control only what you can control. Your reaction is not theirs. Don't mirror their toxicity. The best revenge is to refuse to be like them. Respond, not react. The space between provocation and words is where your power lies. Set boundaries without apology. Protect without permission. Use silence like a white leaf. Not every battle is worth your energy.
Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal and cruelty every day. He wrote that the best revenge is not to become like them. Self-respect is not defeating toxic people. It is refusing to let them change who you are. If this post is helpful, please share it with someone who is dealing with toxic people. Leave a comment, "I choose myself," to remind yourself that you cannot control toxic people, but you can absolutely control how you hold yourself around them. That is self-respect. That is strength. That is freedom.